Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Conversations in Pop Culture, and we are back in the saddle once again for another season. And before I introduce my guest, I do want to remind everybody that this episode is brought to you by my friend Preston Poulter, who runs Palace of the Golden Princesses, which is a fun, sexy romp through fantasy RPG setting run by women. Issue 3 launches on Kickstarter. It's an awesome book. And currently, he is offering to anybody who signs up on his website, Pocket Jack Comics, for his email list, a free PDF copy of issue 1. So go check that out. But enough about that, because I have with me comic creator Stokes. So welcome back to the show, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, bro.
You know, I am very excited. Obviously, we spoke, I believe, about decay or intrusive thoughts. I forget
Intrusive
which.
thoughts.
Yes, I forget which one we spoke about. It's been a while, but I know you have another campaign going on with Tap or Die. And I know you're fully funded, but what is the basic premise of this comic for those who are hearing about it for the first time? Because I know it's an interesting story that's a little bit different than Intrusive Thoughts. A little bit different.
It's very different. So it's about a guy. He's a stud, and he gets gatekept by the legacy wrestlers in his commission and or his federation, and his league commissioner screws him over, so he goes and get revenge. Kind of like a wrestling John Wick, I would call it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on with this, and obviously, I am a huge wrestling fan.
Oh,
I like
really?
wrestling, and so how did this idea even come about? Because wrestling to me is the ultimate form of comics,
Yeah.
and this sort of, I guess, somewhat writes itself, and wrestling feuds sometimes write themselves. And so, what is this like? Because there's a lot of stuff, and it goes a little meta sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I actually I came up with a story with Christopher Curtis, another cool creator, and he had an idea. He had an idea of like a wrestler. He had kind of like the look, and then I've dealt with some turmoil in my comic book career when I was coming with the comic book. So I was really frustrated. So it's a really angry comic book, to reflect how I was feeling at the time, and dealing with these people that in your trade that are like, oh, you're young, you can't be boisterous, you can't do that. They try to tell you how you should act, and then so that's really like the soul of what it's really about, which I think is also the spirit of wrestling as well. I feel like wrestling deals with those narratives as well.
Yeah, and then let's kind of dive into this a lot as well, because there's a lot of stuff in play in this book in particular. Obviously, there is the trope of gatekeeping in wrestling. And as you
Yes.
stated, there's also gatekeeping in other professions, and some of
Yep.
that mixed in there. And then there's a bunch of other stuff as well. I think there is potentially a little bit of a racial issue as well. I kind of picked up on it where, there's that in play. And then there's also, sort of the young hot shot getting his opportunity. And
Hmm.
what is this like to really capture that? Because this story is, parts of it at least are well known and are relatable, and then other parts are not. And also some of this stuff has played out on TV. And so what is that like to take your spin on it and then sort of, I guess, put a nice fresh coat of paint, add a few twists in there, and create something that is kind of cool in that regard?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you're kind of banking on nostalgia, right? You're banking on the sport. And I think what's great about wrestling is that wrestling is when you have other sports, you want the narratives to happen, right? But maybe they don't happen, right? Like the NBA finals, it's, Nuggets versus Heat. Nobody cared about that, right? Like could have been Lakers Celtics. But with wrestling, every year is Lakers versus Celtics. The most interesting thing happens. So I think the fans are also more willing to buy into the narrative when they read a fictional work of wrestling. So that's why I chose to work in the sport. And I also wanted to add, you're right, there is a lot going on. It's not quite a racial component. You could say that, but it's more about class. And we understand that class and race are, adjacent. You know what I'm saying? So there is that. There's a lot of different stuff. Like I just wanted something that I wanted to bridge the gap between like a normal wrestling comic and then the kind of cerebral stuff that I like to do, the character driven thematic stuff that I like to do. And I feel like we did a good job.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff going on in there as well. And then the other thing that I think is interesting from the pages that I read is that I find that wrestling is complicated because there can be a lot of disrespect to wrestling, and there has been collectively on how it's been reported, how people have viewed it, and what is that like? Because wrestling fans are extremely picky. They also
Mm-hmm.
call out bullshit, and they're also some of the most fan centric people, I think, more so than I think anything else. I mean, you go to a WWE event, there are people there who know everything about it, love the sport. On the indies, it's crazy. And so, what is that like to really figure out how to be respectful to the culture of wrestling, understand the culture of wrestling, but also tell this story? Because you do have to put certain things into the story, but figuring out where the lines are, because that's where this is really interesting, I feel, for you, because you want to make sure that you're not stepping on somebody's toes who's
Mm-hmm.
a wrestling fan, but you also have to remember it's a comic too, and it's also a fictional wrestling promotion as well. But you want to be respectful in the whole thing. So what is that like, really navigating that? Because it's tricky, especially with something like wrestling.
I think maybe you don't want to get too specific. Like you don't want to try to sell it on authenticity, right? Because I think that's when you open yourself up to criticism. Because if you're going to try to be authentic, then, you need to be authentic. I think finding a middle ground between, like authentic and completely fictional to where a wrestling fan can, read it, but also separate it from the sport that they love is what we tried to do. I mean, it just came out too. Like people might read the issue and then be like, they might say something about it. It potentially, it also mixes in like multiple sports culture. Like the villain is modeled for me after Deion Sanders, at least his personality. And then, there's boxing culture in there. There's MMA culture in there as well, so it's a lot of different kind of things kind of pulling together.
Yeah, I mean it's fascinating. I mean, I love wrestling, as I stated. I love UFC as well in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. And what is that like? Because there's a lot of, I mean, machismo in play in a lot of ways in this book to some degree, and obviously there's some revenge as well in there
Yeah.
too. And that's the other thing that's so cool too, is that you're taking a combat oriented sport, for lack of a better word. Guy
That's what it
gets
is.
screwed, and accidents happen in a ring, guys. And
Yeah.
so, what is this like to kind of blend that as well? Because I hate to say this, and I might get you and me in trouble, but wrestling is staged. I think we could say, hopefully. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Oh, I might get my wrestling card revoked. But revenge might not be staged, if that makes any sense. So, like, what is that like? Even because that's such an interesting dichotomy where you have a fake fight but real revenge, and now those two things are coming in, and we don't know what is real and what isn't per se in certain areas in this book.
Well, actually, no. So in this universe, wrestling is real. Like, hopefully don't get in trouble, right? But no, every fight here is real. So this is as if wrestling was 100%. Everything that was happening was not staged. And like I said, I think it's kind of like a fantasy in that way, like a power fantasy in that way. And I hope people gravitate towards that sort of thing. Because yeah, I've read some wrestling stories where it's like, is this staged or not? It's hard to tell. I just wanted to really just
Because
make
you
it
know what,
clear.
I asked that because when I'm watching Raw or
Mm-hmm.
SmackDown, I understand that it's on TV and I understand it's that. But when you're in a comic book, you have certain, I guess, narratives get pulled out because in television, you have a bunch of tools that you don't have in a comic book. In a movie,
Right.
you have a bunch of tools. And that's why this is so interesting, is that a lot of things can be missed. A lot of things could not be there. The voice of commentators. I mean, I'll use Michael Cole. When Michael Cole's calling a match, it's very different and it adds a different dynamic to it. At Money in the Bank, obviously, he's going to narrate where the match should go. And that's something that is complicated, I feel. And that's why this is so interesting, is that where are all the lines drawn, especially in wrestling, because we sometimes don't know what's real and what's not. And that's what's so interesting about this. And it opens up so many possibilities.
I think this would be like the at least what I want to see. Like if I wrote a season of wrestling, like this is what I want to see essentially. Like it's gritty, it's abrasive, it's messy, it's violent, you know, a lot of personalities clashing. That's what I want. So that's basically what this is.
No, it's interesting. And even talking about the grittiness of it as well. I mean, this
Mm-hmm.
book is in black and white too. And
Yes,
black and white, obviously, there's a few reasons why. I'm going to state the obvious one is that black and white, in a lot of ways, is cheaper than
it
a
is.
colored book, as well as it's faster. And I believe time is money. But also, you could have black and white darker. Black and white tends to be raw. It tends to be, a little bit, I don't want to say rougher, but more old school might be a good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is that like? Because obviously setting cost aside, setting time aside, what is that like in a stylization play for you? Because there is that to some degree where it does change a book when it's in black and white versus in color.
No, absolutely. I see Dual Power Bomb came out. They did a black and white version, and like that looked really good as well. And you're right. There is a financial component, right? Of course, like it's faster, like you said, it's cheaper to print, it's cheaper to make as well. But for me, it's like one, I want the rawness. You know, I want I want to feel. I want to lean into the nostalgia. I want the rawness that I feel like comes with black and white. It's also I grew up on shonen manga. You know, I grew up on Dragon Ball Z. I didn't grow up on Berserk, but Berserk was a big influence on this One Piece. So it's also like me personally, most of the comic books I've read are black and white. You know, if you consider manga comic books. So it's that as well. It's an aesthetic choice, and then like Pat does a lot of his bigger series are black and white. So that gave me the confidence that okay, like I can find an audience with this. And do I think maybe it turns some people off for being not being in color? Like it's possible, but if you're not gonna give a book a chance because of it's not in color or not, I mean I don't really care to try to make you a fan because it seems kind of a little bit closed minded, Like it's cool to have preferences, but I want fans that are gonna like give anything I make a chance, regardless of what the individual specifics are.
So I'm actually curious about this because I like manga. I obviously like American comics. But I love color. I love color. I love
Yeah.
massively saturated color. It's
Yeah.
something I thoroughly enjoy. And I'm also getting to the point where if I'm going to spend 20, 25 bucks on a cover and back it, I kind of expect certain things in that
Yeah.
book. And maybe it's because I've been cultured that way. Maybe it's just because it's sort of been that way, or maybe it's like you need to have that level of black and white that it really needs to be at that next level. And so what is that like, even figuring that out and even calculating that into it? Because it is tricky at this point, because I hate to say this, but like everybody has to earn my dollar, because there's a lot of really good projects out there in the comic
That's
world,
fair.
both on, Fund My Indie, Crowdfunder, Zoop, Indiegogo. And I mean, there's some stuff that people are self-publishing that are killing it. Not to mention that there's some really good projects that are being put out by some bigger companies like Image that are just going to direct market. And so what is that like? Because I think sometimes it creates another problem that people are like, are you really earning my money? If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, like I said, there is a financial component, but I also think it's a big book too. Like it is, it is you. It's a 30-page book. Without the back matter. So, I mean, if an in color book costs $20 is $15, and then like a black and white book $30 is $15. I feel like that's a good value. And this wasn't like I had pages to be colored, and then we said, "Oh, let's just keep it black and white." These pages were drawn to be black and white, you know, and I think it shows. I wouldn't want these to be colored, like maybe we can do a colored version down the road if there's a huge demand for it. But I feel like these pages stay on their own. What do you think?
I'm just saying it because at this point, I look at everybody's project and I have limited money right now
Yeah,
to back things. And I'm saying, cool, what is looking good? What's looking interesting? I don't just say, oh, color, no, thank you. No
yeah,
color. I don't go that way, but it also is a huge factor. I mean, I'll be very honest. I look at what's the concept of the book. is there color in the book? How is it drawn? How much is actually revealed to me? Did the person actually write a good pitch on their Kickstarter? Is it actually understandable what the hell this book is? So like, I want to know what I'm going to be buying. How long is this book? And then I look at price. And so, I mean, there's 8 factors that determine me. It's not just the one. And then also it's track record. So technically 9. So, if you're brand new or you're notorious for not delivering and you're a year late all the time, that's also going to affect me. And that's just my opinion on it.
Right.
But I don't think anything I said is out of the norm.
No, absolutely not. I was just asking what you thought. What was your impression of the? Cause you looked at pages. What was your impression? Like, was the lack of color a turn off for you? You can be honest.
I mean, a little bit. I'll be honest. Where I'm not really. I sometimes enjoy black and white, but I am really a color guy. I'm an anime like weeboo, and I love color, and like that's my problem. I love also like new school saturation color.
Yeah, that's fair.
But like, I'm not anti reading your book. It's just that like, I have to think about it for a minute, if that makes sense. Versus saying I'm in all the way. Like, and that's just how I feel as a person. But I'm not against your book per se. Thank you. It depends in which that you have 21 days left, so I don't have to decide this second.
Yeah,
you your book. So like 3 weeks. In my head right now and said, "I need you to back my book, Andrew." It'd be a little bit different where I'd be like, "Well, it's been nice knowing you, Stokes. It's been nice knowing you."
Bro, what's going on, bro? But in fairness though, I have ran 6 campaigns and fulfilled all 6 of them. Like, I think within my last year, I've done within a month, so I got a pretty good track record. But
I'm not attacking your track record.
I understand, bro.
I call things down the middle in a lot of ways.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
People who have really bad track records, but they have great books. And again, it's not the only thing in which that, I mean, this is how I feel, is that I feel like it's a collective of parts now on Kickstarter, because there's a lot of good people on Kickstarter. There's a lot of bad people on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've experienced pretty bad people. I've experienced bad people. I've experienced bad projects. I've experienced great projects. And so it's really the Wild West.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're 100% right. Yeah, I was genuinely just curious, but like I said, like, you're gonna run into people. Like, I've been reading Do a Powerbomb, man. I mean, those colors are insane. They're gorgeous. Like, so yeah, if somebody were to pick Do a Powerbomb over Tab or Die, I couldn't be mad at them. Like, it's an incredible looking book. And that's the risk that you run. But I feel confident. I feel confident that this book stands up to a lot of really nice looking books that are in color.
Yeah, let's actually talk a little bit about that too, and let's actually talk about the rewards, because I think this is interesting too. So obviously your PDF is $5, which if it is a very low entry cost. Then it's $10 for the deluxe, and I always get confused about deluxe PDFs versus regular PDFs, and because my whole thing about PDFs, and I'm actually curious, is that I thought for the most part PDFs were for a lot of international backers, more so than, I guess, traditional backers, because that's just been always my thought. I might be speaking completely wrong and off base, but I know a lot of people have PDFs for international backers more than anything else. And so what is that like, though, to offer, I guess, a additional PDF option? So I think it's interesting, and I'm seeing it a lot more now.
I think I got that from Pat, to be honest. I think, like, I mean, the PDF, it behooves you to order the PDF if you're like, the delta is wider. If you live in Sweden, you want to buy Tap or Die, the delta is wider from the PDF right to the issue, because you're going to pay for shipping, right? You're going to pay $40 potentially, or $5. If you are domestic, then the PDF is $5, the deluxe PDF is $10, and then the physical copy is $15. And then I believe real quick, the digital deluxe is included with the physical copy, so it's $5 more. So you're talking about a difference between $35 and then $5 if you wanted to upgrade US domestic. But I also think some people just prefer the PDF. I think some people want to consume the media, but they don't want to, because I mean, you think about it, like if you're on Kickstarter to support as many projects as possible, then the PDF makes sense, right? I'm not, and I think I get a lot of domestic people that buy the PDFs. As far as the deluxe PDF, I think it also, for me, I want to offer something for people at different price points. Like if you have hundreds to spend, I want to have something for you. If you have $5 to spend, I want to have something for you. So I think the 10 is good because it's like I don't want to just get the first thing, but I want to help you out, get you that little extra
Well,
and the context, the content.
Let's actually talk about that because this
Okay.
is one of the things that I think is interesting is that creating value ladder.
Yes.
So I run an eBay business, and one of the ways I like to create value is that I like to combine shipping. So I charge $13 shipping, but your books will arrive immaculately. And when somebody's buying a $200 book, they don't care about spending $13 because they want that thing perfect. But all of a sudden, somebody might want to buy another $50 book, but they don't want to pay the shipping again. And so I save my buyers a lot of money by combining shipping, and I'm adding value in that regard.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's really complicated right now on Kickstarter is I don't know if creators really understand how to add value to their backers and to their consumers. And what is actually valuable to me might not be valuable to you. It might not be valuable to something else. And I'll give an example. Somebody might want a script in a PDF, deluxe PDF, and somebody might want, a music track, or somebody might want, maybe this interview as an option. In that. And so what is that like? And even figuring out how to price that in, because I think it's a tricky business right now.
I think what you want to do is find the intersection between price and then value, right? Like, of what another person might want. So a script, you already have the script written out. You throw it in the PDF. It costs nothing, right? And then if you don't, let's say you don't care about a script, you can just scroll past it. So I think the digital rewards are a good way that a consumer can get something. For instance, I have various covers on this campaign, and all the covers are available through the digital deluxe PDF. So I do think that adds value, and that if I'm actually selling more of the digital deluxe than the normal PDF, which is crazy. So that's really nice. But so obviously people value getting that extra little bit of content. It's a difference of $5 for them. So that's good.
Because I just think it's fascinating, and I'm always trying to figure out how to find and add value to people, and add value on my podcast, add value in other ways, add value in my business. And I think it's a real problem right now collectively where people, I don't think, really think about, cool, what is the value position? And then going into your physical stuff, and obviously this is cover A right here. I think that's 15. And so obviously that comes with the deluxe. So somebody gets everything that's in the deluxe. And then even just figuring out all of that and finding even just the right price point on an entry point, because I think that's also a big problem where I've seen indie books for a cover A go for 25. I've seen indie books go for 12. I've seen indie books go for $5. And obviously if you're doing offset printing, you're printing 3,000, you can obviously charge a lot less.
Yeah.
Versus if you're doing, is it onset printing or printing on demand? I don't know.
Not printing on demand. Printing on demand is completely different.
I don't know what it is. Again, I haven't produced the book, so
I can tell you what printing on demand is. Printing on demand is like, let's say I have Amazon, like I have my book for sale on Amazon.com. You order a book from Amazon, they will print it out and then ship it to you. That's print on demand. So I don't have any inventory. Maybe on-set printing is what you're referring to, but I get what you're saying.
Again, this is not my area of expertise. That's why I was referring to you. I was referring to you completely. I'm the first person to admit when I don't know something. But what is that like for you figuring out the right entry point? Because figuring out what you need to make money on and break even on, or even make $1 or $2 on the book, help to cover the costs, help to get the next issue funded or recoup some money, and then also making it still affordable because you want people to have physical copies, and figuring out that whole dilemma. Because the last thing I think anybody wants is to price out somebody who would be interested in a physical copy.
Right. It's all about finding that value, because if you set your thing too low, your entry point is low, sure, but then you have to sell more of it to make your money. You don't want it too high either. I think 12 to 15. I think 10 to 15 is a good range for a floppy, personally. And then you want to kind of you have your spots where you kind of want people to go. You want people to gravitate towards. So for me, it's like, what do I want to sell the most of? And on this campaign, I want to sell a lot of the NSFW cover. I want to sell a lot of the digital deluxe PDF. I want to sell a lot of bundles. So I'll adjust the prices around those bundles to make it a great value. Basically.
Because isn't the theory on Kickstarter that you want to really, I guess, upsell your customer also?
For sure.
In which because the person, you know who Brian Polito is, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I think Brian Polito does this the best, where I think what he does from campaign to campaign is that he grows his backers and he grows the value of his backer. And I think it's a real skill, especially and obviously when you drop a first issue, you're never ever going to know because that's your base moving forward for issue 2 and issue 3. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I ran a Kickstarter for this show, but that's a different beast collectively. But my understanding is that you always want to grow your backer and you want to grow the value of that backer. And so what is that like? Because right now you're in the middle of this campaign, and I think you're developing and figuring out your base for when issue 2 of this book comes out and issue 3 comes out. And what is that like to make sure that you have an accurate base? Because I think that's a really complicated thing. And I think people who do that and figure those numbers out tend to do well on Kickstarter.
I think the tricky part is that you should never assume. I never assume that everybody that backed the first book is going to back the second book, right? So I look at a retention rate of like, say, 60-70%, right? So if Tap or Die makes $5,000, I'm expecting that if I drop a book and I barely promote it and the covers are just okay, that I'll make $3,500, right? So it's kind of like that for me. And then vice versa. The opposite is, okay, if I promote the hell out of it, if I come on Andrew the Investor show, if I have some great covers, then, I can make, the flip side of that, I can make 9,000, et cetera. So that's how I see it. I think people actually get into a trap of just assuming that people will come back for the next book. A lot of stuff needs to come into play for you to retain your audience, right? You need to have a great product. You need to deliver said product. You need to entice people to buy the next product, and the next product has to be available for a reasonable price. So I don't take anything for granted. I'm trying to, like, the next book, I want to look better. I want to have better covers, maybe more covers, and I want to be better at marketing it as well, so I don't want to rest on my laurels.
Now, it's interesting. I think people, obviously I'm going to mention a name, and he's in hot water. I don't know if I can mention his name.
Put in the private chat. I'm curious.
I'm not going to mention who it is. You know who it is, though. You know who it is. So does everybody else in comics. It's the person in comics who talks about this way too much and is in some hot water right now. It's not that hard to know who it is. There's only 2 people on the top of your tongue. I mean, you know who it is, right?
Oh, you've been following that?
I mean, I'm trying to think of a code that'll get us.
Just type it in the private chat. Nobody gonna see it.
I'm trying to think of a code here that I don't even spell it right. See why? I was trying to.
Man.
But I don't know where I was going with this. You broke me. Guys, we're done. I'm sorry. But this interview is going. We started up here, guys, and we're now down here, and we're only going to get down here, and we're only going to get down here.
I think we're trending upwards.
So speaking of upwards, obviously we have this right here. Don't worry, we're gonna go downwards. We have this right here, which is Bear Hug. I still don't know why. It's called Bear Hug.
Look, he's holding them right there. That's a bear hug.
It was a joke.
Okay. I'm about to say, sorry.
And then we have this right here, and this is like the Alexa Bliss cover for you. And then given what I did about 2 hours ago, I could show this now, and I wish I had the uncensored version of it because it'd be something else. Given where I went 2 hours ago, I'm allowed to do this now.
Fair enough.
I don't know. Did you see my interview 2 hours ago?
Nah, bro.
Oh,
What happened?
Just when you have free time,
Hell yeah.
it's a hell of an interview and it's something special.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, let's talk about that because obviously I think you have 5 covers. 4 of them are different, and then one of them is a variant of that fourth cover. I think is a safe way how to say it. But what is that like? Because it provides a bunch of options. I think that the second cover might be 15 or I think one of them is the same price as cover A, and then I think the other 2 or 3 are different prices. So, what is that like to provide different options and also different styles and things of that nature? I could be mistaken though.
Yeah, the first cover is 15. The rest of the covers are all 20, and then the uncensored one is 30. So, I mean, the thing is, so every cover is a sales pitch, right? So you want to have as many sales pitches on a campaign as possible, like that's how I look at it. And then when you're at a con table, because I do go to a lot of cons, I also want different styles. I want different things to grab different people as well.
So let me ask this, because I'm sure you've seen a bunch of campaigns, and I've been, part of a bunch where they have 15, 16, 20 covers. And I think that's too much for 2 reasons. I think there is a concept of giving somebody too much choice. I think if you give somebody the option of 20 covers, I think that is way too many options for one campaign. And I'm not talking about like a safe version and a nude version. I'm talking about 20 for cover, like safe for work, and then 20 for not safe for work. So the option of 40, as well as it can get really fucking pricey because every time you produce a new cover, that's just more money out of it. And I'm curious how you feel about that, because I think 4 or 5 is reasonable. I even think 5 or 6 is a lot on one campaign. I do. But I'm curious how you feel about that, because I get the sales pitch, but I also think that the more coverage you have, potentially you get lower returns of money, or you have to spend more capital. And so I'm curious how you balance that, because I think it's complicated.
I think here's the thing. I think there's diminishing returns with anything, right? But the reality is the campaigns that I'm sure you're thinking of and the campaigns that I'm thinking of, they do numbers. Like they make a lot of money. Now, the question is, you're spending a lot of money, obviously. So it's a matter of what do you value. I would love to run a campaign that makes $30,000. If I had to commission 10 different covers and then each cover gets a virgin, I would do it.
Let me challenge on that, because
sure,
it's great that if you make 30,000, but what if you only make $1,000 in profit, right?
But here's what I'm saying, though. I can leverage that 30K number to do other stuff, right? I can say, oh, this book made 30K. If I run 4 of those campaigns, this series made over 100K. It's what you value. You value profit, right? You value profit. You value margin and stuff like that.
I mean, I view my money as energy. So
exactly,
I want to be as efficient as humanly possible, and so I get the idea of saying, "Oh, I did 120,000 with these 4 issues." I get that, and I get the clout that comes with it.
Exactly.
But I also go to the idea saying, "What if my profit margin?" So in my eBay business, I do 32% profit margins. I would love to have the clout. Clout's great, but clout doesn't pay my bills. Clout doesn't get me where I need to be.
That's not true, though. Well, for comic book creators, certain industry, we're talking about wrestling, right? In entertainment, the fact is clout can get you money. You know what I'm saying? And it's about the individual's choice on what do they value. Like I said, I might do tap or die with 10 covers one day. I can't say I won't. Or like I might scale down. You never know. But like I said, it's all about leverage, and it's all about taking what happened. I mean, the dude that you didn't name, very good at taking a situation and then just like capitalizing on it and taking whatever happens and just using that to boost whatever they're trying to do. So
I mean, I'll be very honest. My thought process is that's not going to last.
That's fine, but even that's fine too. I'm not. We're just saying though. Simply the reason why you would have 10 covers is for the total, and then whatever you value off of that. So I personally do not. I'm personally not like what I. Here's what I value. I want as many comics as possible. I want 20 issues of a comic book on my con table within the next 2 years. That's what I'm working towards. And in order to do that, I have to stay light. I can't have 10 covers just sitting around. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's what I value. I'm not valuing the high. I'm valuing the momentum and keeping this consistent and dropping 6 comics a year, you know, or etc. So it's all about what the individual creator is looking to do, you know?
Yeah, no, I just want to be as efficient as humanly possible.
Yeah.
And look, I get the cover game. I also understand though that if you have 10 covers, you're gonna have dead merch. And I've been through this in an eBay business, and it's a very complicated thing to do, and it's complicated to move dead merch. Yeah. And it's not a good problem. No. You know, I right now, I mean, what I figured out how to do is, you know, I have merch that is sold in my eBay business that I don't even have yet. So I have negative merch in my eBay store, and I have the problem where I have to go out and get merch. And that's an amazing problem to have. It's an amazing problem to have. And I don't say that to brag. I say that because I want to be light, like you were saying.
Yeah, exactly.
I just want to move forward where I want things that are not even in my possession sold. And I think it's a real skill, and I think it's a really good thing. And I think a lot of creators, you know, are living, you know, hand to mouth or foot to mouth. I forget the statement, but I think it's dangerous, and I think this is how creators get burnt out. I really do.
I mean, I'm pretty burnt out. I'm like this close to being burnt out. Like I'm exhausted, but no, I mean, you got ultimately what I've learned, and also I don't like gatekeepers is because they're trying to get you to act like them. But in reality, I will never knock a creator for, you know, within reason, just doing what they want to do. You want to do 10 covers and have your margins be shitty, then do that. You know, like you want to just make a comic, not worry about the profit. You make your goal, and then that's all you want. Then that's cool. I think people get too wrapped up in trying to. It's getting to a point where some creators, I don't even try to understand their headspace. It's like, why they do this? I have no clue, bro. I can't even spend the mental energy to try to dissect what they are attempting to do, man. You got it, you know.
Oh, I mean, look. People wonder why I do things. People wonder why other people do things. I mean, I can mention 14 different names that I don't understand. And look, I know creators who all they want to do is knock down other creators instead of building up a building.
Yeah.
And I don't get that. And I don't have time, and I don't have the luxury anymore to wonder why. So I'm just going to do what they're going to do. And you know what it's bewildering to me. And there's plenty of creators that I think are producing too much work. But I'm like, hey, you do you. If this is what you want to do, I'm not going to understand your business model.
Exactly.
And people don't understand mine. But mine's working, and maybe somebody else's is working too. And more power to you, I guess. But you know, I don't like being knocked on, but that's just me.
Right.
In a lot of ways, but it is what it is. I mean, I think it's interesting, but I'm curious what you think, because one of my biggest pet peeves of the industry right now is nobody wants to have a discussion.
Yeah.
I think it's different if you and me have a disagreement on something in comics. We should talk about it.
Yep.
Versus attacking. And that's what I don't understand about the industry. And obviously I haven't produced a book. And I may or may not. I haven't decided at the moment, but for the next 6 months, I'm probably not going to. But I find that there's a lack of dialogue. And I don't know if it's just because, and I'm going to say something that might come off weird, people in comics might be socially off a little bit. And they might not be the best communicators, or, you know, people have egos, or people just suck. Because if you take 10,000 comic creators, you're going to have a mixed bag. I don't really know what it is, but I'm curious what you think, because you've been the victim of some stuff and attacked. I've been attacked, maybe by the same person. I don't know. But like, why do you think that is, that this industry is just, I guess, having that problem? Because I think it's a big problem. And I mean, you can plead the fifth at any point.
No, I'm not playing. No, I'm not copping out. So I think, but here's what I appreciate about you is that, and here's why I think you should buy the book, because the book is about you. It's you have a specific way about how you want to do things. You're looking at marketing efficiencies. You're looking at certain things. You were like, I want to operate this way. You did a Kickstarter for a comic book show, right? And people had a problem with it. Now, and I think you said this last time we talked. If you have a problem with my rewards, the price, you have a problem with this, that, you have a problem with like the practicality or any of those things, that's fine. But to say, oh, you can't have a Kickstarter for a comic book show, that's wrong, because we need these platforms. Like, Keeping It Geekly just took a break. Blake's Buzz went off. I think he took a break from his platform as well. So it's like there's a lot of work. So why not?
4 years strong, everybody. I have taken this whole time 2 weeks off. I had a surgery on February 22nd. February 22nd, 7:00, I was interviewing.
That's very impressive. But so, for instance, there's some people that's a crazy idea. There's some people paying for an interview is crazy idea. I wouldn't personally pay for an interview because it's just a lot. It's a lot, right? That you have to spend money on. But I don't have a problem with creators charging, the idea of a creator charging for an interview, right? But it's like, if the conversation is your platform isn't big enough, I'm not going to give it return on investment. That's a different conversation. But those are the conversations people don't want to have. They look at new ideas and they say, that's not how it's been done. So that's the problem. Is I had a similar conversation. I'm new. We're new. I mean, excuse me. Let me say it for myself. I'm new. Maybe you were newer when you ran the Kickstarter, right? I was at a con. I had one book and a poster, and all I can do to like expand my inventory was say, I'll sign it for $5. So I asked on Twitter, I'm like, how much y'all charge for signatures? And then some people were like, nothing. I don't charge. And then some people were like, you're a nobody. Why are you charging? Nobody's going to want to pay for your signature. When my first con, people were paying for my signature. Oh, it doesn't have any value. Like, it has some value. People are asking are asking for it. Right? Like, and it's just like this dogmatic approach that a lot of people have. And it's just, you're right. If you want to say that, there's all kinds of reasons not to charge for a signature at a con. There's all kinds of reasons not to kickstart for a comic book show, but that they're not giving that information in a way that's non-combative. And that's the problem. I think it comes from a place of insecurity. I think a lot of people look at new people and say, wow, you're going to get beat down because that's what happened to me. You're going to, or they're like, hey, how do you have so much confidence? And I'm over here. I'm a whooped puppy. I'm a beaten dog. I have a lot of people that are just resent me because I reject certain techniques. I had a situation where I said, I don't do this specific thing about comic books. And the person resented me so much. We just argue. We argue all the time. It's weird. It's just insecurity. There's no reason why you should look at somebody else who's doing something not ethically wrong. I'm still delivering books. I don't have a single unfulfilled campaign. There's no reason to look at somebody and get mad if you're securing yourself.
Yeah, no. I really can't disagree. I mean, look, this is what I think. I think what it is that I think a lot of people, and I've said this about the show, and I've said this where I just think people are so sick in comics of just getting charged nickel and dime at cons, their books, colorist letters, or Kickstarter taking 10%, that they just say, I've had enough. And I think that they don't realize that if you want these platforms, you need to support them, because sometimes I have a sponsor. I have a sponsor today, but that sponsor paid me $4 for that spot. Now it just so happens that I might have 12 episodes, so it's around $50 for those 12 episodes. But guess what? To run this show runs me $240 a year, and sometimes it's an easier year, sometimes it's a bad year, and it's not a pitch for money, guys, but just saying, look, my costs are relatively cheap, but also sometimes other shit happens. And look, I'm just trying to get anywhere near my position. And that's what I don't understand, is that I think from a rational standpoint, I think anybody could understand that, whether you support it or not. And that's what bothered me more though so than anything else is nobody understood the rationality. And I'm like, but you guys are trying to fund your project too. So how are you missing the rationality?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think it becomes a problem is that I'm not asking you to support necessarily. I would like people's money, right? Obviously, everybody wants money. But what if you listen to somebody's rationale? I say, I get it, but I'm not going to do that. But then there's other problems too in the industry where there's all these bookers and there's all these other people. And guess what? They're charging and they have clients and then they come to me and they don't want to pay me. And so who am I now to say, am I going to be the sucker at the table? And that's the problem that occurs. And then when I say that, nobody in the industry has an answer. And I'm like, you attack me and you don't have an answer. And that's where I'm at. But again, it's neither here nor there. I've spoken about this plenty. And honestly, my solution is that if I don't want you on my show, you don't come on. So that idea of me charging for an interview, if I could get away with it, I would. But guess what? There's plenty of people who have not been on my show ever again. And there you go. So you guys got what you wanted. I hate to say it, where it used to be everybody comes on, and now it's really, really selective. And I hate to go on a tirade like that, but it's just a dose of reality. It's a sore spot for me still.
I can tell, and I think reasonably so. You had a different idea. People said you can't do this. They may have had legit reasons for saying you can't do this, and they didn't give them. Probably got nasty with you because it's happened to me. It's happened to me a bunch. But fuck them.
No. They got what they wanted. They got what they wanted, and I evolved. And guess what? You got what you wanted. You ended an open, free-form discussion, and you didn't censor speech. So there's no such thing as freedom of speech between private citizens, but you guys got what you wanted. I hate to say it, and I got no problem saying that. And I've become raw, and I become honest about it. And I say it every 2 months. I say, if you want my honest opinion about anything, ask me. Get me on a show, and we can go through 50 comic creators, and I will tell you my thoughts on all 50 of them. And it will get ugly. And I mean, right now, throw out a name. I'll tell you right now.
Pat Shan.
Pat Shan. Fuck Raven Gregory. No.
What is Raven Gregory?
No. I'll tell you my opinion about Pat Shan. I think Pat is a great writer. I think he is very good at what he does. I think though that I think he was a good writer and he got really lucky with Zenescope and then he became a better writer. That's what I think. That's what I really think. I mean, I don't think that's offensive. I think that's true. I think Pat has put in a lot of work, and I think he just miraculously got involved with Zenescope, and then he went out on his own and he killed it. That's what I think. And good on Pat Shan, and then he put a lot of good people around him that have made him better.
Like your boy.
I think the secret though to Pat Shan, and he will never admit this, is you.
No, stop. Relax, bro. Nah, hell no. I'm not taking that one. But
man, that's what I think of Pat. Honestly.
That's my guy. That's the reason I asked. That's my guy.
No, but I think that's an accurate statement. But anyway, enough about that. I get salty about this. It's a sore point, Stokes. It's a sore point for me.
I'm sorry.
No. I like talking about it. I like talking about it, but enough about that. I might have just synced your entire book. My bad.
Bro, listen. I mean, like I said, the book is angry. The book is about being spiteful. That's what's about. So I mean, it makes total sense. And they did you dirty. They did me dirty too. They did me dirty a bunch, bro. I can't even get, bro. This episode will be 2 hours long. I get into it.
I can't go into it either because there might be other consequences in my realm. That I can't talk publicly about at the moment.
I'm glad that I got a couple publishing deals, not big ones, not like I'm not working for Image and no shit like that. I got in like some work for hire work, but for the most part, I can do what the fuck I want. It's real nice. It's really cool. So
I built my own for a reason. I built a business that's going to take care of me for the rest of my life any which way, and I can do whatever I want in my business, and apparently I'm good at it. But and honestly, I don't think I'll ever go publishing. I think eventually I will do a book, and I'm going to do it on my terms because I've earned that right. After all the shit everybody's put me through in the last 10 years, I've earned that right. But I digress. That's enough about me.
Let me say something real quick though, man. After you go through all that, thank you so much again. I really appreciate you having me on. And I wouldn't have given you no shit, bro, for that shit. Just like and I like that. I like you not gonna talk shit about my Kickstarter and not come on my fucking show to promote your shit. I love that. I love the energy. Hell yeah.
What did I do?
I'm saying like if a motherfucker were to be like, you can't kickstart your show and then try to come on the show, fuck them. Like hell no.
Oh no, it wasn't even that. It wasn't even that. I'll just say it openly. A lot of people just come around when they need an interview, and they don't come around when to whatever. And I was like, great, we're done. I'm extremely selective, and there's another name that I can't mention who's been helpful. TJ, that's they're gonna leave it. But he gave me some good advice where I get certain guests on my show, and I have to be selective. When you're interviewing the Bushwhackers, I'm not interested in putting on somebody who has no right to be anywhere near them on my show. And I hate to say that, but that's another thing too that people don't get. Why I potentially charge, because I had Barry Yandel on, who's Bon Clay from One Piece. Like there gets a point where it's who is on this show and who's in association. And I have to protect the brand. And I hate to say it, but money is a wall breaker on that. But I digress. It's a whole bigger thing, and there's a lot of shit for that. And I don't think people have a full understanding of the circumstance because I don't talk about it all that often. We would need like 3 or 4 hours to go through this with people. And I think hopefully people would respect me, but I digress. I'm gonna let you promote yourself.
Hell yeah.
Before we get you and me both in trouble. And
bro, I'm
World War III.
Bro, nobody can give me a show, bro. I'm a free agent. But yeah, check out Tap or Die. It's an amazing book, I think. Gorgeous black and white pages. If you're a wrestling fan, non-wrestling fan, you're gonna love it either way.
Fair enough. Where could people find you on social media, all that fun stuff?
At Stokes the Writer. It has it. What's it right there? Stokes the Writer on Twitter, and then Instagram at Decay Comic.
And then I'll just quickly promote myself. I am down below. I am Pop Anime Comics on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. If you would like to pay for an interview, buy me a coffee. You're more than welcome to do so. I am more than happy to take all your money at any given point, but you don't have to. But if you do want an interview for real, everybody, and make me a good pitch. Pitch it like your life matters, because I'm more likely to pick up an interview, especially if you're not paying, if you pitch it really well. Pitch it as if you were pitching it to a publisher, is all I'm going to say. As well as, if you really want to get on my show, subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's another good way how to get my attention. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and actually comment on my videos, because that will probably buy you more favors than you can imagine. But I digress right there. On that note, I'm going to give you the final word.
Back Tap or Die. That's it.
Well, I don't think I could have suplexed that any better, everybody.